Machines are identities too. Let me walk you through that somewhat controversial statement. Now, when we take a look at machines, what are we actually talking about? Now, majority of you watching this video, you're IT professionals, your identity professionals, your security professionals, you know. But we're basically talking about bots. We're talking about APIs. We're talking about service accounts. What are service accounts? Those are those things that run in the cloud and they just do the work for us. Think of like a backup scheduler, right? That has access to very sensitive data in order to back it up someplace. You don't want that machine compromised. That's an example of a service account there. And of course, anything to do with the initials that need no introduction, AI. Now, this is what we call collectively as non-human identities, also known as machines. Now, we all know that these things outratio us humans, us carbon-based life forms, by 50 to 1, 100 to 1, 1,000 to 1, pick your number, right? We're outnumbered already. But the thing is, with machines, is they're not being managed the same way we manage our human identities. So the tools that we're using every day that we use for, network security, application security, endpoint protection, business email compromise even, these do not work or translate very well into this robotic, non-human world. So let's talk about what we can do there and how we bridge that gap. Now, the starting point of this, I always like to say is, let's define the problem that we're dealing with and the approach that we're looking to solve here. So the problem is human identities have a long history of being in the IT world. So when somebody joins your company, you ask for the proper paperwork and you enroll them and you pre-screen them and they get a set of entitlements when they join. And as they move along through your organization, they can get more privilege, they can get privilege taken away, and eventually they may leave the organization and you take away all access. But these things behave very, very differently. So first of all, there's no paperwork when a bot joins your organization. They're created, it's an automation that does something. Same thing with your APIs and your service accounts and all the AI models that you're putting in place that are essentially running the organization. And they're put in place are often not very transparent. They're buried in code. They're buried in various cloud applications that spread across your organization. And when it comes time to their job is complete, right? Do they disengage themselves and leave the organization? They do not. In a lot of cases, these AI agentic agents are out there still accessing your data, still able to do a lot of damage if they're compromised by the bad guys. So a good place to start here is let's compare and contrast where we're at with the human identities and where we're at with the bots. So when we look at humans, we like to think at Delinea there are 3 different types of identities, and those are your IT admins, your workforce identities. These are your employees, your contractors, vendors, suppliers, etc. Your developers, right? Your developers, they're creating a lot of this stuff here. Now, over here on the other side, we're going to talk about these machines. We already talked about what they are, but they break down into a couple different categories. I like to think of them as, these non-human identities as actually the machine identities. Large part of this are APIs and service accounts, but then also the world of agentic AI, right? So you have your AI models here, you have your AI agents, you have your large language models, your LLMs, you have your MCP, your model control protocol out there. And a lot of this stuff is just kind of running out there. And when you talk to IT professionals like you all are, like I am as well, what they'll say is, we have a really good idea how to do this stuff here. And this stuff, we got no idea what's going on here. This is the wild, wild west. But what we like to say at Delinea is that these two things are equal. Okay, everything you can do over here, you can do over here. And what are those things? Like, how do we gain control over our machine and AI, over these non-human identities? We're going to give you 5 different ways that we do that. And the first is through the process of discovery. if, the Peter Drucker saying that if you can't measure it, you can't monitor it, you can't control it, et cetera. Same thing is true here. Chances are good you know the number of employees you have and contractors, your developers, who they are, even if the developers are contractors. And your IT professionals, the admins, the help desk admins, all the people who make the machinery and the plumbing of your company work. But when you ask IT professionals, security professionals, how many AI agents do you have? They will candidly look at you and say, we have no idea. So the first step is discovery. And remember, the same tools that you're using or you have been using to discover identities, maybe through your, identity provider or your Okta, your Ping, those are your Microsoft Entra. They don't work across other identity providers. And the tools that are provided with your cloud provider, your AWS tools, don't help you with your Microsoft cloud. Your Microsoft cloud doesn't help you with your Google cloud. So you need a different set of tools, and you need tools that look across and discover across multi-tool, multi-cloud environment and pull up all these identities and all these identities as well. So that's number one. Number two, you need to secure access. Now, here's the thing about these guys versus these guys. These guys, you can do multi-factor authentication. These guys, you can't. These guys, you're in the, for the machine and AI world, the non-human identities, they don't do multi-factor authentication. They operate in the world of certificates and ephemeral tokens and shared secrets and things like that. And that's why it's really important to secure that access, to look at how these things are gaining access and ask the question, because you've discovered them now. Now you can ask the question, is one developer here developing 50 machines over here that are using the same shared secret and burying it into the code? Can we surface that and secure that? And the answer is yes, we can do that. But you have to know how to secure those credentials so that they get access. And the third way is, something I love, which is near and dear to my heart, which is just-in-time access. Just-in-time means your access is time-bound and you have zero standing privileges. So for example, over here, we understand it that this IT admin will only get access to the proxy server when it's part of their job. And it's part of a workflow. We unlock it. It's time-based. It goes away. So if this person is, in fact, somehow compromised down the road, that person would, the attacker, they would get a null account. They would get access to that and say, hey, I can't do anything. This was a bust. Spent all this time compromising this company and this user to get nothing. Well, the same is true here. You don't have to have standing access for your machine, for your AI agents, for your bots. You can actually deliver that access through a workflow that does not inhibit productivity, because you don't want to slow down your development. You don't want to slow down your AI. We get that. But through this workflow, you can actually make sure that the AI agent gets the permissions they need to do the data processing, to do the modeling it needs, and then once it's done, that gets taken away. Okay. So fourthly, that we call that just-in-time access there. And of course, you also need lifecycle management. Now, what is lifecycle management? That's the typical definition is joiners, movers, leavers. But I also like to say, governance is part of this. That's just a fancy term, meaning that who decides what access to take away and when. Now, over here on this side, you can put a human in the middle, but over here, it's not recommended. But you can see through the right set of tools that you have, you can see when these machines are no longer used, when they have access to data that's very sensitive, that they shouldn't have that, when somebody is accessing these things or they're accessing through ports in your firewall or they're internet connected, which maybe they shouldn't be. But lifecycle management means that you're looking at when they're born, also who is the owner of that, actually tying this stuff back to this stuff. So we say, hey, this machine is owned by this developer, and then hold people accountable for this developer, making sure that that machine still needs to be used or can be disabled, or we can take down a bot, or we can disable this AI model. So that's very important. And the fifth thing is posture. Posture, oh, there you go. I stood up straight, so I've got good posture. But do you have good posture with your machine and AI, with your non-human identities? Well, that's a great question. What does posture management mean? Well, it means that you're looking at these as identities, and do they have access to too much information? Do they have access to too many privileges that they're just standing there? Do they have the right credentials, or are their credentials, shared? Are they somewhat weak credentials? And you're able to determine who the riskiest identities of the thousands of machines you have out there. You can't be monitoring them all the time. So you need a tool that says, hey, these 25 different machines here that you have, they're the riskiest. Go take care of them right away. And good posture management will also automate this, so you can actually say, you know what, take those down. It's so risky for the organization to have these things out there doing the things that they're doing right now with the exposure that puts us in. Let's just take those down. So in sum, are machines identities too? I will say yes, they are, and they need to be treated as such. And you can do that with these 5 steps here. So good luck with your machine and AI situation. Check out delinea.com for more information.